I think we can be trained in a lot of ways. Obviously, there's a lot of tools that you learn in design school, but my mother was a designer. She was the one who helped me set up my business. My mother-in-law, also a designer and had a workroom. She sewed for Pierre Dieu. So I think I've had just so many helpers and mentors around me all these years with getting that training early on. I think it helps me, solve problems and actually kind of see people take experiences, take lifestyle choices into account that maybe began somewhere else, and I can kind of get in their shoes a little bit.
Welcome to Talk Shop. I'm Ariel, Okin, a New York-based interior designer, writer, and editor, looking to bring a little bit of magic into our homes every day. After years as a writer and editor in the interiors world, I founded my own editorial site, Fenimore Lane, in 2020, and the Talk Shop interview series was born. Each week, I delve into the personal experiences of the top interior designers and tastemakers around the globe. This week, I'm joined by the talented and brilliant Hillary Taylor. Growing up in the San Francisco area, Hillary learned the art of interior design from her mother, an accomplished decorator herself. After graduating from Princeton, Hillary worked as an investment banker and became a lawyer, before realizing that design might be more her style. Hillary founded her business, Hillary Taylor Interiors, in 2003. Known for her neo-traditional aesthetic that seamlessly blends classic elegance with contemporary elements, Hillary's work exudes a sense of refined sophistication, creating spaces that are both timeless and inviting. With a keen eye for detail, Hillary blends colors, textures, and patterns to achieve a sense of balance and harmony with a bit of her own eclectic charm. And when Hillary is not in the design studio, one might find her digging in the dirt, on the running trail, or cheering on one of her 4 children at their sports games, all while awaiting her next plane ride to adventure. Please join me as we welcome Hillary to the podcast. Hillary, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy and excited to have you on.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, Ariel.
I'm so thrilled to have you on, and I feel like I know you from Instagram. We've become friends, so this is like such a pleasure to get to chat more.
Oh, isn't it fun to have Insta friends?
It's the best. Well, to kick off the conversation, we ask everyone who comes on, can you describe your style in 3 words or less?
Yes. I would say it's fresh, it's authentic, and it's traditional. We are not moldy. Ariel.
No. I love how you do traditional design because it's so in line with my personal taste, and I love everything you do. Your work is
Thank you.
stunning.
Thank you.
It's true. I mean it. And for those listening, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are at this point in your life right now?
Yeah. So I've been in business 20 years, which is crazy.
It's amazing.
I founded my firm after attending law school and having my second child. So I watched that second daughter of mine, and I think that's a little bit like my business. Not quite. I love my job, and I think it's because I love finding solutions and I love saying yes. And our industry, our work has a lot of obstacles, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think I've always continued to dig deeper because I actually like a challenge. I really love a challenge, actually. For me, I believe that my work requires my left and my right brain. And I just
So true.
continually feel like I have a good amount of creativity going, but it's so much about execution and efficiency and functionality and process. And I love that. I just love it. So
I always talk about that with Laura, who's our operations director. We get to exercise both parts of our brains because we get to do the fun, creative stuff and textiles and fabric and all of that. But we're also running a business. And I think people think less about that when you hear interior designer,
absolutely.
but it's a business. I mean, we create systems, we have HR stuff to learn, we have people on our team. Like, I think that too can be so exciting and energizing and enriching in a different way. So the synergy between the two is fun.
No, for sure. And I do think not everyone's really into spreadsheets. And of course you can hire someone, to do those things, but I have a lot of comfort feeling knowledgeable in all the parts of my business, even if I don't want to do every single part every single day. I can do it, and
Yeah.
I actually really like it, and I feel I have a lot of joy in just knowing that I can handle it. I can do that. I can do spreadsheets. I
Yeah.
can do all the stuff that isn't what you see on Instagram, frankly. You don't really see what we do. So,
No, people only see like the fun, fluffy parts, but the back end part is just as fulfilling in a different way. And you can feel really
yeah,
accomplished at the end of it in a way that's different than when you're doing a design presentation, but feels just as great.
totally.
So let's walk us through your career so far because you've had such an amazing pivot. And I love talking to women who have gone through career pivots into design because I think it's just so fascinating how you take parts of that from where you were into what you do now. So you worked in investment banking and then you were a lawyer. How did you decide to embark on a career in design?
So I wasn't much of a lawyer. I was a really bad lawyer.
By the way, also, Hillary went to Princeton and is like a genius and worked for an investment banking firm and got her JD and is basically brilliant. So let's start with
Oh,
that.
you're so cute. Well, no, it's interesting because you say, like, I've actually heard on some of your podcasts with other guests, like, I'm not trained or I am trained. I feel very trained. Not that I have this incredible ego or
Mhm.
anything.
No, but you've owned your business for 20
Well,
years.
that's
Mm.
true. There's that piece, right? I mean, at this point. But even starting off, I think in my undergraduate years at Princeton, they had these concentration areas. So I had a very eclectic education to begin with.
Mm,
And I probably could have majored in 3 or 4 areas. I just chose US history, which I loved.
yeah.
But there was so much art and there was so much European and there was language and economics. And so those parts of how we evolve, and I've always been somewhat of a jack of all trades. In fact, my mom would call me that.
I love that.
And the second part of that is master of none.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to it when you're kind of like getting this broad liberal arts education. And then I did not love investment banking. It was more of a cultural issue for me. It was
Mhm.
I think there were 3 female analysts in a quote
Oh my God.
bullpen of 50 guys. So it was good for my left brain
Yeah.
and sets you up to understand the economics of a business and how cash flow works and income statements, things like that. That great. But I really had always wanted to go to law school. I went, I loved it. I still love it. I still look back and think I'm just some of my happiest times, made my best of friends there. And again, digesting a ton of information and then spitting out pithy little sentences of information is kind of what designers do.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, my clients come to me and they're like, "This is my life story and these are the things I love and by the way, I hate this and I
Yeah.
here's my giant Pinterest board and
It's such an information dump. That's so
yeah,
true.
and so you kind of have to take a lot in, but you actually have to make some choices and you have to move forward in an efficient, because frankly, it's all in the planning. And so being able to put a plan together from vast amounts of information, that is law school. That's in my opinion. I'm sorry for all of you lawyers out there that disagree, but
No, that's an interesting parallel. I'm fascinated by that. It's so true.
yeah, so I mean, I think we can be trained in a lot of ways. Obviously, there's a lot of tools that you learn in design school. But my mother was a designer. So I think,
Ah,
some
I
of
love
that
that.
was she was the one who helped me set up my business.
Mhm.
My mother in law, also a designer, and had a
Oh,
workroom.
wow.
Yes, she sewed for Pierre Dieu. So she
Oh
had
my god.
yes. So I
That's so
think I've
cool.
had just so many helpers and mentors around me all these years with getting, that training early on. I think it helps me, solve problems and actually kind of see people take experiences, take lifestyle choices into account that maybe began somewhere else and I can kind of get in their shoes a little bit more easily if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does, and I think, I was talking to Caroline Judier recently. She also was a lawyer, and she said the same thing in the sense that, having that background actually really helps you prepare more than almost any other career for being an entrepreneur because you know how to write contracts, you can understand your agreements with your clients, you sort of know how the business world works, and you could be a wonderful designer, but it's 50% running your business and clients. That's a big takeaway too is was it seamless and was the process easy and did it feel good going through the process? And I think having a background like that helps so much because you can really anchor yourself in a way when you're starting out that you almost know more than the average person starting a firm.
Yeah. No, I think so. And I also think there's a fair bit of taking the dang bar.
Yeah.
That learning how to function under pressure is still, even though we tend to not put a ton of importance on standardized testing, it's not like that, but it's just understanding how to function high pressure. That happens a lot in our business, doesn't it,
Yeah,
Ariel? I
absolutely.
mean, we sit and we have to take flack, or we have to say we're sorry, or we have to come up with a solution to something that fell apart in a project.
Absolutely. I know it's unfortunately it's part of the day to day. Were you always in love with design? Like, was it something that you always sort of like something you did to relax almost?
Yes. And actually, that's why I set up the business. Really, I like sewing. I like making things. I was taking upholstery classes in law school. I was sewing a lot. And I think, everyone goes through times in their life. My parents were divorced when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And
Me too. My parents got
really,
divorced. Yeah, when I was 28, my parents got divorced.
so don't you find, I think it's interesting to be sort of an older adult that has a fully formed front lobe and go through that.
Yes, it's kind of world shaking.
It is. And so that was sort of the turning point for me. And here I am just sewing and sewing for therapy.
I got my dog. That was when Charlie came.
Oh, see, dogs solve everything too.
Dogs solve everything, 100%.
Yeah. And so I think you kind of go back to those things that just feel good, and you kind of say, what do I want to be? And at that point, I was like, I want to be an inactive member of the bar. So
Yeah.
it was perfect.
You know what? Sometimes things that are the hardest things in our lives bring us some of the best pivots in our lives, and you don't realize it at the time, but looking back,
Blessings in
it was a
disguise.
blessing in disguise, exactly. Like, you would have never probably done that at that point in your life had you not.
No, no. In fact, most art or architecture was off the table for me. So it was very freeing. I think there's like a little bit in there, and it's just a latent creativity. Sometimes it manifests in, lots of ways, because I think you can be creative just with how you help people, how you nurture people, or,
Mhm.
there's a lot of ways this same kind of bug can manifest. But yeah, for me, it's designing homes and decorating. I love it.
Yeah, that's so true too. The creativity can come in different forms. And I think oftentimes, and this is usually people that when we interview people on the podcast, and it's been a career pivot kind of story, always they'll say, this was something that was never a career that I even knew could be on the table for me. And then I was doing it for fun on the side. And I think it's really beautiful that the things that we do on the fun for side sort of end up finding us by one way or another. And how lucky are we that it found us?
We are. And I think it is about the people around us. This is my husband, the people around me that said, you can do this.
Mhm.
Here, I'll teach
Yeah.
you. I'll show you. It's a very hands-on work that we do. And I think
Mhm.
it's really helpful to know how to do the things that we ask someone else to do. I always try to never tell a cabinet maker how to do his job, and I'll say it. I'll give that sort of disclaimer to begin with, like, but I don't know how to tell you how to do this, but
Right.
can you do this?
But it's so
But if it's
true.
the upholster or it's the workroom, I do know how to do that. So, but there's just parts of our jobs that's so helpful when we can get our hands dirty too.
So you founded your design business 20 years ago in 2003, which is amazing. And I mean, since then, you've seen a complete evolution of design, especially now with social media and the internet. I mean, how have you seen your design evolve over the last 20 years and the industry also?
Oh, goodness. I mean, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I joke about I like will pull out like faxes. Like there was a
That's
point where no
amazing.
one at the design center had an email.
Oh my God.
There's a bit of shift that has occurred, obviously. But I would say like design with alongside my clients, I used to kind of come to the table, and I still do in some ways, with this grand plan of what I think the very, very best thing could be for this space, this environment, this location, whatever it is. And I would come to the table with, what I really wanted to help them do. Maybe it was a little out of the box, but now I really love and focus on my role as an advocate. And
Mm.
so, which is quite interesting with the lawyer
I
background.
was just gonna say advocate. I mean, that's totally your lawyer background.
Yeah, and I just really wanna tailor everything that I help someone do to what they wanted, and maybe it is finding the very best version of what they wanted, but I find my clients are all quite different, and I've worked for them, I mean, some for a decade, and I
Wow,
think
that's special.
yeah, it is, but it's a very intimate process. I mean, it's humbling, it's very psychologically probing, it's got all these moving parts, like I count sunglasses and underwear and
Yeah.
Lego boxes, and I love counting shoes.
Oh, it's the best. Making custom closets is so fun because you learn so much about how people put themselves together and where their preferences lie, but just interior design in general is so personal. I mean, you're creating someone's home.
Yes, and I find, like, we try to come with the most flexible plans, the plans that could allow for, even young families. Okay, when your oldest gets married or weddings or whatever it is, or future littles or grands or whatever, pets,
Yeah,
you have to take a lot into account, and I love that part of it. I think that's what, instead of I would do this, I mean, there's a plenty of me suggesting my expert opinion, my professional
right.
opinion on things, but it's really, instead of me coming with this top down, it's like, show me, show me, show me what you want, how do you live, and then kind of seeing how these relationships, there's a lot of just getting to know people and just understanding what makes them tick. And so that's kind of where my evolution of design has kind of ended up, is really just want to know people.
Yeah, and that when you think about it, I mean, the best design comes when it's personal and it feels like it's really distinct to the owner because you always end up with something unique that way, and you're never repeating what you're doing, and it's really informed by the client's story and their family and their history and their memories and what they want their home to be and feel and look like, and then your portfolio becomes so layered and textured and different, and there's a commonality and a thread, but it shows how personal the work can get, and I think that's such good advice for other designers listening is to really dive into listening to what your client wants and then executing that way versus vice versa.
Oh, totally.
I do think it's really interesting the point you made about how you evolved over the last 20 years with your design firm because you can kind of get stuck in like one way of designing or one palette that you sort of go back to time and time again. And your work is so varied and textured and informed by so many different, I mean, you can tell when you're
Thank
looking at your
you.
portfolio. No, it's so true. I love your work. I mean, it's really, really beautiful and elegant and livable.
Well, and I owe that to my clients.
Yeah.
They're so special, and they're all so different. They all ask for different things at the beginning, and then sometimes it is an education process, and so sometimes they come around to things that I feel are really, really the best for a space, and sometimes they don't. And
Yeah.
then you get this space that's really interesting. It's okay.
Yes. I know the push and pull between what we're suggesting and what ends up happening, I'm always so intrigued by at the end of a project because sometimes some of the things that were a hard no, what ends up instead is really awesome. And
Mhm.
so it's an interesting process because you're right. It is all psychology and getting to know people really well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so interested in the design scene in Salt Lake City also because it feels like it's so integral to the way people live in Salt Lake City.
Well, we're growing and we're a young city. So, and especially in the last 3 years. So, I mean, just culturally, there's a real focus on the home here.
Yeah.
I love that. People care about where they live.
I watched Shay's show on Netflix.
Oh, they're so cute. She is the cutest.
She's so sweet, and I love watching the show, and I'm always just so struck by, like, the landscape there. I've never been out there.
Oh, you have to come. You have to come.
Beautiful.
It is. It's gorgeous.
It's so gorgeous.
The mountains are really striking. And I would say the hardest time for me, because even though I've been here 25 years, I still, my mother and my sister,
Right, you're from California.
right, they're still in California. So I still have a tough time in like early spring when it's still snowing here.
I have a tough time in early spring in New York, so I feel that.
Well, and I know that. I know your springs. And it's similar. Only one cool thing about Utah is we have these sunny days in winter. So that's fun. That's good. It's just cold.
Yeah. In terms of design, is there a favorite element about the design process for you?
Well, my personal is the textiles. I just love that.
And you're so good at mixing them too.
Thank you. I just think there are endless textiles to use.
Mhm.
So I actually, when I'm done in a project, I have a bin in the studio that I throw all the memos from that job into.
So that you don't repeat them.
Yep. I keep that bin for several years. Sometimes I have to get back in because accidentally like a really good standard got in there. But it's not that I want to reinvent the wheel, but I
No.
want to give every project its own due. And unless someone comes to me and says, I need that one pure fray or whatever, which
I
never
know.
happens.
And it's so tricky when that happens too, because you want to do what they want, but you also want to not repeat something. It's tricky.
It is. But I find I have to like hide it from myself more than that.
Yes, because you know what? So we do the same thing. We try not to. The only things we ever repeat are solids.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Smart.
I think that it's important because it does push you to push your own envelope a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that you do that too.
Yeah. No, I love textiles so much that, I mean, we could just go on forever. There's so many good ones out
And
there.
there's so many incredible small textile makers now too.
Some I'd love to use. In fact, some that come to me and say, would you use this? And I want to say, yes, of course. But
Isn't that the
that's not
best?
always, yes, but it's not always what the client goes with at the end. We do try to give options, many.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're designing a room, do you think that there's anything that's sort of like the most important?
It's always the floor plan.
That's where you start.
And how do you want to feel and what corners are coming at you? I mean, there's a bit of feng shui. There's everything you can think of about how a room feels. And yes, you have to do the TD planning. Yes, you need to stand in that space. But I think a lot of times a really good combination of finishes, but not too many. It's usually that restraint factor for me.
Yeah.
As I'm always saying, oh, too many hill, too many pull back. Right?
You know what? It's so interesting you say that because I see it in your portfolio, and I think that's what makes it so sophisticated and elegant is that you have such a master on textiles, but you let the architecture sing, and your floor plans are really awesome. And I think that combination is where you get the restraint factor, and the restraint in traditional interiors kind of translates into something that feels really timeless and sophisticated.
Mm-hmm. And vacuumable. And
yes, and livable.
Somewhat practical and livable. Yes, for teenagers. And because just by the way, teenagers are so much harder on stuff than toddlers.
Oh my God, I'm like so scared.
So bad.
I don't even know how that could be physically possible because my children are
it is
the Tasmanian devils with like pizza and chocolate ice cream all over my house. So I don't even know how that could be. So I'm scared.
Okay, well, maybe you'll get it in reverse. Maybe it won't be that way for you.
I hope so. It's so crazy. I had to reupholster my banquette in our kitchen because it had all these chocolate ice cream stains over it.
Oh,
And
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I used Schumacher has a performance vegan leather.
I saw that.
It's incredible. I'm not this is, like, not an ad like, I'm not it was just so good, like, my kids have gotten pizza sauce.
And juicy colors, like, good,
Yes.
not that kind of haggard diner look. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's
like
good.
leather. Yes. No. It has a grain and it's like a pale sky blue. It's really pretty and it cleans up
Mm.
really well. So for the teenagers in your home, I think you should try it. Is there a design rule that you always follow or one that you think is sort of like made to be broken?
I kind of think all of them were made to be broken. So maybe that's because I'm not a trained designer.
Yes, I love it though.
I do think, there's certain things, like no unidentified flying objects. We hang art at 66 on the floor, and people will say, "Well, but the ceilings are so high." It's like, "Okay, let's walk through the Louvre together visually, mentally. Just
Yeah.
think of the last time you went to a large museum, unless there's stacked paintings or something." But so we do try to keep art eye level. That's a very important rule to me.
Agree.
But no, I really just don't. I think there's some things we can do that are bad, like caulking baseboard. That's
Yeah.
that's just silly stuff, right?
Yes.
Those are kind of, you can fix them. It's just in Utah, there's certain things because we have crazy freeze thaw.
Yeah. And you probably get crazy wind too with the mountains.
We do, especially when seasons change. We get really big storms.
Yeah. And that's tough on the paint and, all the caulk and
It
stuff.
is. And so you kind of have to get where you're designing for, you know? And there are some definitely building rules, things that aren't the same on the East Coast or on the West Coast. So
Yeah. Looking back through your career, have you had a mentor in your career? And
my mom.
your
Yeah.
mom? Oh, I love that.
Yes, that's my mom.
That's the best.
She taught me that stuff is not as important as people. So even though that was kind of what she loves and still loves, it's people in the home. And so it's okay to surround your people with pretty things, but never to kind of get so wrapped up in your stuff. And I do think that perfection, for me, that message that she taught me has translated into much more, quote, patina
Yeah.
and being okay with
Which
things
is a good
getting wrecked.
thing.
Yeah. And I think there's, some things look good wrecked and some things don't. So kind of getting that too.
Yeah, that's so true. Like certain metal finishes actually look better wrecked and then upholstery kind of doesn't.
Doesn't.
It's so true. But I like that advice even for parenting advice, that's like just great baseline life advice.
People are just so much more important than anything else.
Yeah. And you have four kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I have four, two girls, two boys.
That's amazing. I'm in awe of how women run a business with 4 children. That is just hats off to you.
I have a lot of help. I have a lot of help, and I'm
It's
grateful for that.
hard.
It's very hard. And it's not, there's days that, in fact, there's times of life, like over these 20 years, there were definitely periods of time where I didn't work hardly at all.
It's hard, different phases with kids.
Yeah. And I'm just in a phase where I can kind of work full time, or
Yeah.
some days more than full time.
Yeah. I know how that goes.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure you do. Oh, I'm so proud of you, Ariel.
Oh my god, thank you. That's so nice. I'm so proud of you. Your work is truly, like, some of my favorite design work ever. You need a book. You do. I'm putting it out into the universe because I would buy that book on pre-order tomorrow.
Oh, you darling.
So good.
That's so cute.
It's
That sounds like a
true.
project, doesn't it?
Yes.
I'm excited for your book.
Oh my god, thank you. I'm, like, nervous to write it.
Yeah, but you're such a good writer, Ariel. So
Thank
the
you.
communicating, and I think a lot of times it just depends on the book, but
Yeah.
sometimes we're missing some of that really awesome information. I just love good writing. I love
I
good
know.
writing.
I really want my book to be text heavy. I mean, obviously, I want it to be about the projects and the photos, but I want it to be explanatory, and to have text in it.
Good. Well, I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, which is a good pivot. What is your best advice for designing interiors that you've ever received?
Okay. My best advice is take time in the planning. And that comes from Billy Baldwin.
Yep.
I mean, he says something like, it's more logical, it's less costly to take time in the initial planning.
Yep.
Do not rush yourself. Do not feel like you're on somebody else's plan. I just think sometimes when you take time to plan, you have better choices. And also, better choices or cleaner choices or better design doesn't cost more. So I'm kind of,
Actually saves you.
yeah, I feel so strongly that the time is very important in design.
Yeah.
And some people are ready to get going. I'm ready to help somebody just jump right in. We actually decorated a home last year in 3.5 months. I've never done that
Oh my
before.
God. That's crazy. God bless your workroom.
And so it's possible. Oh yeah, the workroom, exactly.
Yeah.
We had upholstered walls. It's a real job. Like,
Oh my God. That's amazing. I'm sure there was a lot of vintage too.
yes. And very steep rush fees. So
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, how nice of your workroom to be able to get that done in time.
yes, I know if they're listening, I'm so grateful. So no, it's possible to do things fast, I guess, is what I'm saying. But I just think that the plan, if it's in the plan, things go smoother, they cost less, you
Yep.
stick with something, you feel anchored, you don't feel crazy, you feel grounded in a vision for what a project should be.
Yeah. What do you think, we're talking a little bit about you now. What do you think your home says about you?
I think it just says I'm family centered and I'm very sentimental
Yeah.
because there's a lot of abuse in my home. Not person on
No, poor
person,
kids
but
will
just of
destroy
our
your
stuff.
upholstery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our stuff gets wrecked and that's okay.
Yeah.
And we have spaces like I designed a music room and it gets used. So I have two cellists and
Oh,
two
I love
violinists.
that.
Uh-huh. So over the years, that's the practice space. We try to use every room in the house, right? That was my goal. And I designed our home and I've actually lived in it twice. We built it twice, the same house.
Really?
Yes.
How?
Well, the first time it was in a neighborhood that was, oh, I just love it. I love that place. And I love those people. But my children were going to school 35 minutes away and we didn't have a carpool anymore. And so we kind of moved to be closer to school.
So you built the same plans.
We did.
Oh my God, that's so special.
I kind of wanted to keep everything but the neighborhood the same. So their school the same, their house the same.
Yeah.
So it would have been super fun to do something very, very cool and new. But
Well, you also have a very modern home too, your other home.
our home in St. George is very, very contemporary and it's fun. It's fun to visit.
Yeah, I loved seeing that feature it was in Frederick, right?
Yes.
I loved seeing that because it was so not what I expected because your work is so traditional and it's so chic and cool, that house.
Thank you. Thank you. It's fun to visit. It's fun to kind of just connect with nature and disconnect. It's certainly not off the grid, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was actually a great place for COVID. It was a great COVID.
Like a palette
Yes.
cleanser. It's so cool. Do you have any favorite places to shop for home?
Well, Paris has all the best
Yeah.
places.
Of course.
I think Marché Baronne and Marché Serpette have everything. And because everyone loves to post and share, and I love that.
Yeah. There's so many resources now for shopping the markets in Paris too, which is amazing.
Yeah, and they're wonderful dealers and
Yeah.
things you'll never see again. Kind of reminds me of like Marburger. It just reminds me
Yeah.
of that, only it's in a very chic French way, right?
It's
Marburger's still
true.
amazing, but I love Wisteria Home in Soquel, California,
Ooh,
and Emily Joubert in Woodside, California.
okay.
So when I go to my mom's, I always stop there. Sue Fisher King, of course.
Yeah, so good.
And they're moving. They're having a sale. So
Ooh,
this is
really?
like a great time. I know. And she's got this amazing, I've just drool over it for years. They're probably not putting it on sale, but it's the Venetian chandelier it's hundreds of colors and
Same.
it's
Yes.
so pretty.
I mean, there's so many incredible iconic home stores in that area. I just growing up in the Bay Area in general, you kind of like absorb through osmosis some of that beautiful design. Madeline Luckle, actually, when she was on, she grew up in the Bay Area and she was talking about just going to those stores as a kid with her mom, not even necessarily just shopping, but just going to like appreciate the stores and how it sort of informed
Mhm.
her love of design. It's such an amazing area for shopping.
It is, and it's not even the buying, right? It's not even trying to find the thing like March, SF, I love that
Yep,
place.
they have
Buy
amazing
things
stuff.
there, but it's interesting just the experience that a brick and mortar can give you.
Yep.
We have some here, like La Petite Maison Antiques, this cute couple, and they have this cute little Instagram, but I think sometimes when people put so much effort into the walls of a space to give you an experience. In fact, I'm working on a retail store right now.
You are? That's so fun.
Yeah, we've been thinking a lot about how you feel when you walk in a space, and I there's something deeper and more fun than just purchasing something to go and experience and say hello and talk with the shopkeeper or,
So true.
see how they put things together. And that's why Emily Joubert, some of these places I just think, "Oh."
Yeah, it's like an experience. It's so
Yay,
fun.
it's like charging my batteries.
Yeah, I know. I think even post-COVID, even more so than pre-COVID, I appreciate it so much more because I almost like missed it. And shopping in person for the home is so important because you get to sit and touch and feel and see things in person that you don't get to do online.
Totally.
And then you also get to see the way things are merchandised, which is like always so inspiring.
And there's a lot of brilliance there, right? The
Yeah.
merchandising and that retail effect is quite real.
It's so true. It's set design, it's theater. Mark Sykes
Uh-huh,
started as a merchandiser.
uh-huh. So gifted. He's so
So
gifted,
gifted,
yes.
so talented. Are there any favorite social media accounts that you love to follow for inspiration or certain places that you doesn't have to even be on the internet, it could be anywhere that you love for inspiration?
There's so many, and that's actually become a problem. So, I've kind of decided I take little breaks, and I feel bad about it because I wanna be out there supporting and liking and commenting and everything.
So it's mentally exhausting. I have had to take breaks recently too. It's just a lot.
It can be. It can be. My eldest is getting married this summer. And so I find there is a lot of visual overstimulation. And frankly, I've noticed that when I take a little break from following really great, awesome people who I like and love,
Yeah,
sometimes I get a little boost of creativity on my own. I mean, it's like I kind of need a break from that because I need my own ideas, and
totally.
I don't mind seeing all these great ideas, especially for a wedding or something, but
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so exciting. When
it
is your
is
wedding?
in July.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, that's so
It's so
exciting.
exciting.
But it's true. I think it's almost like you need like a palate cleanse.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and at night, sometimes it's just the last thing I can do, right?
Yeah. What do you think have been the 3 biggest influences on your aesthetic in your life?
I would say my mother, my childhood, and nature. I mean, I really feel I can't live without light, Ariel.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I have a really hard time in the winter. I'm like, "We gotta go to Florida. We gotta get out of here."
Yeah, and I'm obsessed with Kelvins and different manufacturers and how their color in their light, because in a northern climate like I'm in, I design a lot of buildings alongside architects, very, very talented architects. But I'm always thinking, can we add a skylight? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I know you have a lot of art, but I think we need another window.
It's so true though, and it makes a really big difference on quality of life in general. I think just bringing sort of outdoors, indoors, and having a lot of fresh light, windows, air, all of that, I think it makes a home
Mhm.
feel more inviting, and I think it's really good just in general for people's well-being.
Yeah, and so when we start a new build, I mean, of course, there's a floor plan and everything, and there's light orientation and how does the building react with the sun.
Mhm.
But there's also how can I get out? And and can I get out on grade? And can I touch earth?
Yeah,
Because I
so
think there's
true.
something to these great, we have these amazing daylight basements in Utah. But I do think it feels strange to not be able to just walk out into a little herb garden, just something
Yeah.
sometimes the larger the space or the larger the home, the more you get away from just that connection and that one room away from the garden. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's so true. I think it's a really good thing to keep in mind also if you are doing a new build or renovating even, to keep that in the back of your mind in terms of is the indoor outdoor component woven in the space. And I think it goes a long way, and it's something people don't really think about. Well, at the end of our shows, we always like to do our Take 10, which are rapid fire questions. So what is your favorite food?
Mexican.
Ooh, yum. Now, whenever it's warm out and it starts to get nice out, I just want to like sit outside and have tacos and a margarita.
Salsa, all of it.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh.
Favorite drink?
Diet Coke with lime.
Yes, you and Mika Tenhov and Gil and Gil Schaefer. You all love Diet Coke.
Sometimes on a really exciting day, like a Saturday or something, I'll put sugar-free coconut syrup in it.
Ooh, getting really wild out there.
We have these amazing soda shops in Utah that they're like drive-through, and you tell them what kind of ice and 32 ounces. And yes, and they're in styrofoam cups, and you can add raspberry or you can add.
I have to look this up. I feel like my kids would love that.
They would. They're darling. It's such a fun place.
What is your favorite film?
Out of Africa.
Oh, that's such a good one.
It's my favorite.
The sets, the costumes, like everything.
Yep.
What is your favorite hotel?
The Belmont Hotel Crusoe, which is in Ravello, Italy.
I've heard that's gorgeous. I have a friend who went there on her honeymoon and said it was incredible.
I mean, it's stunning. And then the detail. So I think it was Eric Egan that designed like the Villa Margarita there, and the ceilings, the hand-painted detail, but then like there's a lot of restraint. It's so pretty.
The Belmont hotels in general are really beautiful. They do such a great job with their interiors. What is your favorite city?
Paris.
Yes.
Me and everyone else.
Everyone either says Paris or London because the antiquing is unmatched. I mean, really, because that's all we care about.
Yeah, but the food is so much better in Paris. Come on.
Yes, that's so true. Very, very true. Favorite bedding?
Julia B.
Oh, I love Julia B. My girlfriends got me for both girls when they were born. They made Julia B. little boudoir pillows with the girls' birth date and initials.
Oh.
Julia B. just does such a great job.
She does. And it always comes in correct.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the monogram, everything, all the colors.
Yeah.
And it's just the softness. Oh, it's so special. It's very special. Not for every project, of course.
Yeah.
And not for every bedroom in a project, of course. But it's just so special.
Yes. It's very special, like heirloom quality stuff for sure. Tea or coffee, and how do you take it?
Tea, Mariage Frere, and I do the mint, and it tastes really bad if it's not hot. Like it actually has to be very hot, and it's so interesting to me.
I feel like when it gets cold, it's bitter.
Yeah, it is. It is bitter. That's right. And I wonder if there is something with the temperature because it has to.
There has to be like a science to it. I love Mariage Frere tea. It's so you feel so fancy drinking it.
Yeah, but they're just these cute little balls. So you can take them out of the boxes and you put them in a glass, bowl in your pantry or on the shelf. And it's so pretty. Just looking at them.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yes.
Favorite playlist?
I have the most eclectic, horrible music taste. So I don't really have a place. I don't. I listen to like violin, like Chrysler's Preludium, and I listen to Taylor Swift all day long. Yeah. I mean, bless the people in my studio's hearts, all their collective heart.
The girls on my team make fun of me all the time because I feel like I stopped musically growing once I had kids because the only thing I listen to is like Disney. So I'm stuck in like when I was in high school and college. Those are the only things that I listen to. And I listen to a lot of Taylor Swift. And now my oldest daughter likes Taylor Swift and we'll listen to it together.
Good. Cute. That's so fun.
Favorite weekend activity?
Just being outside. I love watching my kids play sports.
Yeah.
So that's going to hurt really badly when they're all gone.
But you have a while. Like, how old is your youngest?
My youngest is a freshman in high school. So I don't have a while. Well, 4 years goes by fast when you're my age.
I know that's true. It's a lot of years of sports with 4 kids.
Mhm, mhm. Oh, it's the best years, the best.
It is. And this question is our last question of the Take 10, and it's always, I think, the hardest for people to answer. What is your favorite design book?
Okay, it is very hard.
Yeah.
But I would say my favorite, very difficult, that takes a lot of time and energy to kind of consume
Mhm.
is Decoration, which is the Levallois book.
Ooh, I don't have that one. I have to get it.
So, yes, it's one of your vintagey books that you'll have to find at one of your booksellers. But the most hilarious thing, and this kind of sums up the book, I think, is the publisher's note at the front. And it basically says, "We did not," because it's a French book,
Yeah.
but it's in English. And it says, "We did not Americanize this book. So do not try to use this for your American clients."
Oh my
And I
god,
mean, it's
that's
really
amazing.
very French. But there is a photo. I mean, there's photos, there's like real plates, Ariel, where it's like the old book plate style where there's real color photos inserted into the
Oh,
book.
wow.
Yeah, and there's a photo of Chateau d'Ormesson in there that has this room that is so quintessentially what you think of as a French chateau, but it's not, there's nothing cliche about it. It's not
Yeah,
try hard. It's just so perfect. And the walls, the boiserie are painted this beautiful blue. And I've always thought, like, how could I find that paint? It's just, and I'll never find it, but it's so neat to have that because if you were to search on like Pinterest or something,
yeah, you
it
can't
might
find
pull
it.
up that photo, but it will look nothing like what's in the book. So I love this book.
Well, a final few words. This was such a joy. I love chatting with you, and I always love we talk all the time on Instagram, but this was so nice to be able to actually sit down and really chat.
It was.
Can you tell me what are you working on right now? Are there any new projects that you can talk about or wanna share with us?
Yes. I have a new build in Salt Lake for family. We're almost there. We're almost done. I'm renovating an 1877 home, which is a big deal in
Wow.
Utah
Yeah.
because this fellow came from Britain in 1853. He set up a mill in the canyon and this sweet house. I mean, all of the floor joists were buried in the soil. And so,
Oh my god.
surprise, surprise, there were termites everywhere.
Yeah. Oh
But
my god.
you guys have these houses everywhere.
Yeah. But there's still it's hard. It's so hard to work on homes like that. Like, you really need skilled contractors and
Yeah, and a very gentle hand.
yeah.
Yes, it's already had a couple contractors.
Oh my god, I'm sure. Wild. And such a cool learning experience to work on a project like that too.
It is, and then on the opposite side of that, I have a penthouse, beautiful condominium in Salt Lake that I'm working with Spitzmiller and Norris on that's so fun,
Oh,
and,
that's
oh, it's so
awesome.
special for just this wonderful, wonderful matriarch of our community, actually, and
Oh,
it's so, so fun.
that's amazing. And you're working on a retail project too.
Yeah, retail store, got a beach house, yes.
That's so fun. I can't wait to see everything. I love everything you do, so I can't wait to see
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Ariel.
Do you have advice for someone looking to define their own interior style?
Yeah, just don't rush. Don't rush your style and do a lot of reading. Read,
Yep.
watch artists, learn about the difference, kind of read the history. There's no one stopping you from finding out. Libraries still check out books.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really get that online. I mean, of course, we have all these great answers online, but I think sometimes the nuance and the actual author's words, we don't just replicate Mark Hampton's words or Albert Hadley or Billy Baldwin is amazing. Everything
I
he
know.
writes is so 2024.
So funny too. Like, his books,
Yes,
I reread them, like, every couple years because
yes.
they're applicable. You're right. They're applicable to 2024. They're applicable to any time, and you also get, like, really great client anecdotes of, like, things that he talks about.
But I love that he says things like, "Don't forget to have enough outlets." It's like, yeah, that's my life. You're exactly right.
Yeah. It's so true. The practicality of the way he wrote was so underrated. Like I know everybody talks about like the time, his work obviously is so timeless and classic and edited and tailored, but also he gives really good practical advice in the books too.
He does. And I think when you read these words from our forebears, I think it will jog your mind. It will help you see things and see a good antique from a bad or, good vintage from bad vintage, a good repro
So
from
true.
bad repro. And I think it will help. I just think it's really, that's my best advice to find your style is to study, because Instagram is an echo chamber and it's not always stylish and it's not always authentic. It's never going to be authentic to who you are. So
Right.
I think finding that, it just takes a little bit of work. Anything good in this world comes from a little bit of work. So
I love that. Where can listeners find more about you and your firm?
My website is HillaryTaylorInteriors.com.
That's a wrap for this week's episode of
and
Talk
I'm
Shop.
on Instagram at Hillary T.
We'll be back
Interiors.
next week with more
my
thoughtful
favorite
discussions
account,
and
and I love
amazing
watching
guests.
everything.
Make sure you follow on Apple Podcasts
Hillary,
and on Spotify so you never miss an
I mean
episode.
it.
And of course, follow me at Ariel
so
Okin.
much for coming on.
See you
This
next
was
week.
Such a delight. I love getting to chat with you, and you are just the best. So thank you so much for coming on.
So are you. Thank you for having me.